The story begins in Louisiana, where a violent storm and massive flooding have put everyone's life at risk. News channels warn people to leave the city immediately, and the streets quickly start to empty. In the middle of this chaos, we see a man and a woman caught outside in the powerful storm. As the floodwater rises dangerously high, they desperately run to find a safe place and finally take shelter inside a nearby building. The man tries to block the windows and secure the doors to keep the raging wind and water out. But the storm is so strong that it breaks through the doors and windows easily. Before they can even react, a giant alligator suddenly enters the building and viciously attacks the man, killing him instantly. The woman watches in shock and horror as he is dragged away. She tries to escape, but there's nowhere to run. Within seconds, she too is attacked and killed by the alligator. This terrifying scene clearly shows that the flood has brought more danger than just water. It has unleashed deadly predators into the city. The next day, we see a prisoner transport bus struggling through the violent storm. The bus is carrying 5 dangerous prisoners: Russell Cody, Floyd McGraw, Big Jim, Jonathan, and Angelo. 2 police officers are escorting them to a safer location because their original prison has been flooded. The weather is extremely harsh, and the heavy rain makes it almost impossible to reach their planned destination. One of the officers suggests that they need to stop somewhere for the night to stay safe. Eventually, they find an old police station along the route and decide to take shelter there until the storm calms down. At this police station, we meet Sheriff Joe Newman, a strong and focused officer fully dedicated to her duty. Her father was also a sheriff before her, and now she is carrying on his legacy with pride. Joe works with 2 deputies, Jay and Deputy Whitlock. The station is also in danger because the basement is at risk of flooding. Joe instructs Deputy Whitlock to secure the basement doors and prepare sandbags to prevent water from coming inside. Meanwhile, Jay receives a message from Kay, the dispatcher, informing him that a prisoner transport bus will be arriving to spend the night at their station. The bus is carrying 5 prisoners, all convicted of murder and serving life sentences. Jay immediately shares this news with Sheriff Joe. Joe becomes worried after hearing this because her team is small and not fully prepared to handle so many dangerous criminals. Still, she agrees to help and decides to provide them shelter for the night. Deputy Whitlock goes down to the basement to follow Joe's instructions. However, giant alligators have already entered the building without anyone realizing. While Whitlock is working, an alligator suddenly attacks and kills him. Upstairs, Joe and the others still don't know what has happened to him. At the same time, we are introduced to a group led by Rafe Calderon and his team. Their goal is to rescue Russell Cody, one of the prisoners on the bus. Initially, Rafe's team waits on the road to ambush the bus directly, but when the bus doesn't arrive as planned, they change course. Instead of attacking on the road, they decide to follow the bus to the police station and break in from the inside to free Cody. As night falls, the prisoner bus finally arrives at the police station. Sheriff Joe and her deputy bring the prisoners inside at gunpoint. The prisoners act rude and make offensive comments to Joe, but she is strong and knows exactly how to handle them. Among the prisoners, Cody stands out. He is quiet and calm compared to the others, and Joe notices this immediately. She warns them all that the night will be dangerous. If anyone tries to escape or act smart, she will not hesitate to shoot them. After her clear warning, all the prisoners are locked securely in the holding cells. Meanwhile, outside, Rafe and his men arrive at the police station and start planning their attack to rescue Cody. Completely unaware that deadly alligators have already entered and are waiting to strike. They plan to break in and rescue their partner, Cody. Inside, Sheriff Joe and Deputy Stamper are in their office when suddenly gunshots echo through the station. They immediately go on alert and return fire. Rafe and his men break inside, and Rafe demands to know how many people are there. Joe, hiding with Stamper, tells the truth. It's just them. She doesn't try to trick them because she wants to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Rafe explains they only came for one person and won't harm anyone if they cooperate. Joe stays calm, but the two officers who brought the prisoners hear the gunshots. One of them rushes in and tries to confront Rafe, but despite Joe signaling him to stay back, he raises his gun and is shot dead by Rafe's men. Joe manages to shoot and kill one of Rafe's men in return, but then surrenders to prevent more loss. Rafe asks about Cody's location, so Joe leads him to the holding cells. Deputy, holding a gun, tries to stop them, but Joe and Rafe both convince him to lower his weapon, warning him about the danger if he fights back. Stamper eventually listens and drops his gun. Rafe makes it clear he only wants Cody. The other prisoners beg to be released too, promising to help, but Rafe firmly refuses, saying he came only for Cody. Joe opens Cody's cell, and Cody finally reunites with Rafe. However, outside conditions are too dangerous for them to leave immediately. One of Rafe's men is already wounded from the earlier gunfight and is lying on the ground floor. The man's blood attracts a massive alligator, which soon finds and kills him inside the building. Rafe tells Cody they can't stay there for long. Before leaving, Rafe insists they destroy the surveillance cameras. Sheriff Joe explains they're already broken, but Rafe doesn't trust her. So he sends his team member Eva downstairs with Joe to check. As they head to the basement, Eva talks to Joe, saying she once dreamed of becoming a cop, but life took her down a different path. When they reach the basement, they find it completely flooded. Eva realizes that no footage was recorded after all. Suddenly, Joe spots a flashlight floating in the water. When she picks it up, she's shocked to see it's attached to Deputy Whitlock's severed hand. Both women panic, trying to understand how this happened. Just then, an alligator appears from the water and attacks Eva before she can even shoot. Joe manages to escape and runs for her life. Meanwhile, water levels keep rising, forcing Joe to hide in a small room to avoid the alligator chasing her. Upstairs, Rafe checks on his wounded teammate but finds only his severed head. The rest of his body is gone. Horrified, he realizes the alligator has already gotten to him. While searching, Rafe runs into Joe, who is terrified. He asks about Eva, and Joe tells him she didn't survive. Rafe asks if an alligator killed her, and Joe is surprised he knows. Rafe points downstairs. The alligator is now coming up after them. They both start running for safety. As they reach the cell block, an alligator suddenly grabs Rafe and drags him away. Cody tries to save him, but fails, and quickly shuts the door to stop the creature from coming further. Rafe's last ally, Dale, witnesses all of this and panics. Alone and terrified, he no longer cares about saving Cody. Instead, he points a gun at Joe and decides to free all the prisoners. Cody warns him not to do it, but Dale presses the button, releasing them. Once free, Floyd and Angelo attack Joe, trying to kill her. Joe fights back fiercely and manages to defend herself. At this point, Cody steps in to calm everyone down. He tells them they need to stop fighting each other and focus on staying alive, because the real danger is the alligators hunting them inside. Cody is only able to say this because he finally manages to grab a gun, giving him some control over the group. Remember, 2 police officers were still alive, so Cody helped get them out safely. Everyone began thinking more clearly and discussed how they could survive the massive alligators roaming inside. Big Jim realized just how dangerous their situation had become. Not only were the alligators a threat, but the rising water level also forced them to act fast. If they stayed on that floor any longer, they would drown, and as soon as the water rose higher, the alligators would reach them even faster. Using pieces of clothing as makeshift ropes, they started climbing up one by one. Floyd was the last to go. Struggling, he asked Jonathan for help because the alligators had already entered the room, but Jonathan refused to help, leaving Floyd to become food for the alligators. The others watched in horror as Floyd was killed right before their eyes. Some paths upstairs were blocked, so they had to use the ventilation system to reach higher ground. Once they got up, they had no choice but to wait. However, the prisoners were already thinking about escaping. They knew that if the storm ended, they would be sent back to jail. Angelo quietly began forming his own plan. Meanwhile, Sheriff Joe spoke privately with Cody. She told him she felt he wasn't like the others and guessed that he probably never killed a cop. Cody finally opened up and shared his story. He revealed that he was once in Afghanistan, but got into a fight with a superior and was discharged. After that, he started working as a driver. One day, he got an offer to drive for a group planning a bank robbery. They promised no one would get hurt, so he agreed. But while escaping with the money, a police officer appeared. Under pressure from his partners, Cody was forced to run the officer over with his car. After that, they all got arrested. Hearing this, Joe realized that Cody wasn't truly a cold-blooded criminal and began to trust him more. At that moment, Jonathan, Big Jim, Joe, and Cody were gathered in one room. Meanwhile, Angelo and Dale were with the two remaining officers. Angelo had his eyes on a gun nearby, planning to kill everyone and escape once he got the chance. As Jonathan is attacked by an alligator, Sheriff Joe and Cody start shooting to help him. In the chaos, the deputies lose focus on Angelo and he quickly grabs a gun. He wastes no time and shoots both remaining police officers dead. Big Jim tries to stop Angelo, but they end up fighting. Meanwhile, the alligator finally kills Jonathan, and when the ceiling collapses, a metal rod pierces Jim's body, leaving him badly injured. Joe and Cody keep firing at the alligator, but strangely, none of the bullets hit it. After all, if the alligator died too soon, the story wouldn't have much tension left. Cody pulls the rod out of Jim, and together they try to survive. Jim bravely distracts the alligator to help the others escape, but in the end, he is killed. Dale and Angelo also die during this brutal final fight, leaving only Joe and Cody alive. Surprisingly, Rafe Calderon, whom the alligator had dragged away earlier, is revealed to be still alive and returns to help. Cody feels happy to see him. However, Rafe only wants to escape with Cody and has a boat waiting outside. Cody refuses to leave Joe behind, and a conflict starts between him and Rafe. During the struggle, Joe sets off an explosion to distract the alligators and protect Cody. The blast damages the building and kills Rafe. In the end, only Cody and Joe manage to escape using a speedboat. Before leaving, they share one last conversation. Joe tells Cody she'll report that all prisoners died, giving him a chance to disappear. She then asks where the stolen money is. Cody smiles and replies that maybe they'll meet again someday, leaving it a mystery. They both go their separate ways, and the alligators get to feast as much as they want. While 1 or 2 humans would have been enough to fill their bellies, maybe they held a personal grudge this time. And that's the end of the film. It wasn't a big-budget movie, but it still turned out to be quite entertaining. One important detail we missed in the beginning is the real reason why Rafe and his team came to rescue Cody. During the story, Cody reveals that he was involved in a bank robbery as a getaway driver, but in reality, Cody was the only one who knew where all the stolen money was hidden. That's why Rafe and his team took such a huge risk to break into the police station and save him. They didn't come just to help an old friend. They wanted the money, and only Cody could lead them to it.